This is Cogitations with Carl Hartman, minister at Main Street Church of Christ in Lockney.
Good Sunday morning. I am glad that you are up and moving. I hope your day is off to a great start. Thank you for tuning that radio in to 106.1, the Flip FM, to join me for another iteration of Cogitations. You know, we talk a lot of things here about the Bible and theology and spiritual things, and that's our custom and our mainstay. But as I said way back in the beginning, being a veteran and having served, veterans are always on my heart, and we've had guests on the past that have talked about veteran-related items. And when it comes to the veterans, and particularly the veterans of faith, you know, it's hard sometimes to stay spiritually strong when you got things going on, trying to sort out your veterans' affairs. And it's good to have information that can help you and be plugged into organizations that can help you. As a minister, I found it over the years to be important to have a good network. So if you have somebody that you're ministering to and they have particular needs or need particular guidance beyond the scope of what you can provide them spiritually, you got to have places to plug them into to address those various areas of life. And today on the program, I have Dennis Boyd with me. He is from VetStar and part of MVPN Peer Services Coordinator. And I'm going to have just some dialogue with him, and he's going to share with us a lot of the things that VetStar has to offer for the veteran community here in Floyd County and all the surrounding counties that this radio program touches. So if you miss anything, just remember you can always go to YouTube, Spotify, my brain stopped, Instagram and Facebook to the Cogitations there. All those links are at cogitations.net. And you can go in, maybe you missed a phone number, wanted to know some more about a program, you can go and listen there. So I'm going to turn it over to Dennis and let him kind of tell you a little bit about himself and what he does.
Well, thanks for having us, man. Thanks for that intro, man. I don't know how I'm going to be able to follow that, but that's very good. So we appreciate you having us on here to kind of help us reach the veterans. So as you said, I work for VetStar, which is a division of Star Care, Specialty Health System, which is the local mental health authority in the Lubbock County and then the 5 surrounding counties there. As part of that, we are a nonprofit. We have 3 different grants that I'll touch briefly on here, but a little bit about myself. So I'm a 10-year Air Force veteran from 86 to 96. I did military police, loved it, deployed to Panama in 88, done some time in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and also in Germany. And so I got out under the reduction in force after 10 years and missed it ever since. So as a lot of veterans do, my time in Panama was not good to me. And so it caused a PTSD issue and this and stuff like that. So I'm very well versed in the VA and those processes and claims and stuff like that. So provided we get done with the program, everybody will have my number. You can give me a call. Trust me, no judgment because I've been there. So but we're appreciative to be here. And I'll briefly go over the 3 different programs that we have. So my particular program is called the Military Veteran Peer Network. And what that is through TVC, the Texas Veterans Commission. It's a state grant. The state of Texas is very veteran friendly. They recognize that veterans did a lot of sacrifices, and they also need some help when they get out, right? Because it's a totally different world when we get out. You know this as well.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, being a Navy guy. So, excuse me. So there's 254 counties in Texas. All 254 counties are represented by a person such as myself. Most of us have multiple counties. In fact, Floyd County is not one of mine, but Crosby County is. I've got the number for your MVP, and I know him. I talk to him all the time. It's Charles Pierce.
Oh, yeah, he lives over in the same area I live in, and we've collaborated on several things in the past.
Well, don't tell Charles I'm here.
I won't.
Representing too much of my program because then he'll be like, hey, man, why are you stepping on my toes? So, but as Charles can tell you, our specific grant, okay, we deal a lot with the mental health side of things, okay? We also deal with justice involved veterans, those that have had anywhere from a municipal legal issue upwards of a maybe even a low felony issue, right? We work in our jails. We work in all of our see, I had you looking at me.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
The prisons. The prisons. There we go. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
We don't want to waste valuable airtime. We work in the prisons. We work with parole. We do all these different kind of things, right? Charles and myself and the other MVPs in this state, our whole goal is to make sure that veterans' needs are not met. We're basically a advocate for veterans, right? We're kind of supposed to be the all-knowing kind of ones that, hey, if you call us up and say, hey, I need help with the bill, or I need help filing a claim, or I've got a legal issue, or what can I do? Hey, we got you. And we have these connections, right? Kind of the same thing you were talking about. It's important to have the connections so these veterans that don't know can go to somebody that says, well, I do know, and let me get you pointed that way. So that's kind of my grant. I only have 5 counties. Charles has 9, and some of the other gentlemen have different ones. But one of the other programs we have, and this may be of a very good for your veterans in your county, is called the Supportive Services for Veterans Families. The key word is it's not just veterans, it's families as well, right? This is kind of it's geared around veteran homelessness, right? Which is still kind of a problem. And so this grant is a pretty hefty grant. This one is a federal grant. It's funded by the VA, Department of Veterans Affairs. Now, before anybody freaks out, I don't like the VA. It's a VA grant, but we don't work for the VA, right? We collaborate well with them. So this grant can help with housing, such as deposits, pet deposits, the application fees, right? Electricity, gas, all these different kind of bills that can help these homeless veterans or ones that are going to be homeless get set up in a new place, right? It's a temporary program. That's the most important thing to notice is that it is temporary. However, the goal is let's take this burden off these veterans, right? Get them where they can figure out something and kind of stabilize them up so they'll go right back up in there, right? And I don't know if you know any homeless veterans or you probably have bumped into them in your ministry, but transitions are hard for veterans. I ended up being homeless back in 2000, right? So this grant is very, very good grant. They'll get you a whole house full of furniture. Like there's nothing they can't do. There's a transportation budget. If you need help with rides, this and that. In fact, we just bought a motorized tricycle for one of our veterans, an older school veteran. So this grant is very good as well. And it covers actually from the Lubbock kind of county line, go across up to all the way to the Panhandle, the state line. We have another satellite office up in Amarillo. We have another crew up there. So this SSVF grant is big. It's big, and there's quite a bit of money. I know we're talking about Floyd County and the surrounding areas, so don't be afraid to give us a call. And it's better to call us ahead of time so we can get ahead of things because it's a process to it, as there is with anything, right? But don't be afraid to give me a call, man, and say, hey, I heard you on the radio with Carl talking about this homeless grant, this home situation. What's that about? That's where you give me a call because I'll be happy to talk to you. Right? Carl's looking at me. I'm just a dorky kid from the north, from the Northeast, man. But I love what I do, and my job is to make sure we take care of veterans. So that's the second grant, and the last one. This one's kind of a cool grant too. So it's called a Financial Assistance Grant.
Right.
Now this grant doesn't quite cover as much as the SSBF grant does, but it does cover about. And I'll give you a list if any of your listeners want to know the counties. Okay. But let me look on here because I'm pretty sure Floyd is. It is. So that's always.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, why would I be here? Right. But Floyd County is covered. So what this grant does, there's a pool of money, and this grant is also Texas Veterans, TVC, right? Texas Veterans Commission. So when I tell you guys that Texas loves veterans, trust me, they do. They really do. They've got so many programs. We were talking about legislature just the other day in our statewide meeting. They've got our back. So don't be afraid to reach out to those of us that know. But this grant here is literally what it says. It's financial assistance, right? Veteran, has surgery or something, right? And he has to miss work, right? Gets behind on his rent, gets behind on his utilities. Let's say his car breaks down, right? And he can't, for whatever reason, he can't afford a battery or stuff like that. The ceiling is unlimited, right? But there's a grant that they go through the application. They do a process. And the guy that runs that grant is Matt Hernandez. I work with him every day. You just do a little application process, and he goes through it, and he goes through a committee, and boom, usually they'll cut the check. Now, to whatever it is. Could be a bill pay, could be a car thing, but it's there, right? We've had anywhere upwards of, $4 or $5 grand, depending on what the need is, right? Because every need has a different thing. But that grant's available to Floyd County veterans as well and the surrounding counties. So I told you I wasn't going to talk fast, Carl, but I think I did.
No, that's all right. My listeners are used to talking fast because sometimes I just have thoughts in my head and I got to get them out, and it just comes like a 100-mile-an-hour gust of wind. So they've trained their ears to listening quick.
Good.
And they can always go back and just listen again.
Yeah. Well, you know how it is when you are passionate about something.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. You're like, I got to get this out. I've got to get this out. And you're passionate about what you do. I've met you today, but it's great to have talked with you in the emails. And so I can tell you're passionate about your ministry, but also veterans. And so when you called me, we're super excited to be here. We're here to help. That's the thing that veterans we were running into. They're like, hey, I didn't know you guys were out there. Or you guys work for the VA. No, we're not the VA.
Right.
We are not the VA.
Yep.
So if there's any listeners, right, that are nervous about the VA system, one, I get it. I'm a patient, and it is a federal organization. The VA is. It's not perfect, but our city and Lubbock is doing a very, very good. VA is trying to make it better.
Yeah. I can honestly say, I mean, I have literally lived from coast to coast.
Mm-hmm.
I have lived in more states or passed through more states than I have not. And from one side to the other, I make this based on my experience. The VA clinic in Lubbock is by far the best one I have ever used. And I'm down there almost weekly for appointments on things from my military service. And it's just all the horror stories you ever hear about the VA, I don't think any of them are from the Lubbock clinic. I have not experienced anything negative from utilizing them. But I will throw in this one thing, because the VA can be scary.
Yeah,
and
there's
paperwork. You're going to get into maybe nomenclature and forms and stuff you don't understand. And that's where some of these other organizations come in. I know TVC will help you navigate that. I imagine you guys at VetStar, I do believe I've heard that from the past, help those veterans kind of navigate that VA system.
So, yes, you just you saw my eyes light up. Yes, because the VA is very scary, right? Now, I've been dealing with the VA since, 96. And so I've had my struggles in different communities, such as the DFW area and some other VA systems, right? Now that it's been, 30 years, I'm getting old, man. Now that it's been 30 years, though, I've learned to navigate this system, right? I've learned to be an advocate when it comes for claims, right? Give me a call. I got people, right? When it comes to whatever, appointments, give me a call. If it comes to transportation, give me a call. Because I've built this over I've been there for 2 years, by the way. I've been trying to build this program because I'm like you. I want other veterans to know, because I didn't know for the longest time.
Right.
And then when I found out, I started getting frustrated and aggravated because, life is tough once you first get in the military, which you can probably attest to. I wish there would have been somebody like me. But that's neither here nor there, because now we are here.
Right.
So when you give my phone number out, that is a good number and a good email address. There's no question that we can't navigate. But the VA, we got good people in our VA, right? And I could name names, but it doesn't matter. If it's just involved, if you need help, they got social workers now. They've got all these different programs, so they are improving.
Oh, yeah.
They are improving. So,
and that's the thing. Never allow yourself to run into a roadblock. There is no roadblock that can't be bulldozed down.
That's it.
And all it takes is just connecting with the right folks, and that is part of what VetStar does. You might have an issue or a situation that they can't help you with, but I guarantee they know who to call who can help you. That's why it's good to just, if you plug into any part of a network, you're now part of that entire network. And that's something they've done. Like you kind of testified, you come out of the military service and you had a network in the military, but now you've left the military and you're starting over. You don't have a network. But the best way to get that network is to plug in with somebody who's already got the network built. And while they may not have what can help you right off the bat, hey, I know this guy, I've worked with this guy, hey, I got this side program with this organization, they can address this particular need. That's what they specialize in. So you always do that. I'm gonna pause right now, and I'm gonna go ahead and throw your number and email out there.
Please do.
Referenced it, and I'll probably hit it again at the end, and I'll try to pace myself and talk as fast as you might write. But if you want to get a hold of Dennis, and doesn't matter what it is.
No, it does not.
Any veteran-related issue, and maybe he's already hit on this. You're not the veteran, but you're the spouse of the veteran, even the child of the veteran. Call 806-999-2835. That number again is 806-999-2835. Now, that's his cell number. I'm assuming the F on the business card is for
fax. I can't believe that's still on there. Yeah,
okay. I was making sure it wasn't office. You don't need the fax number.
No.
The email address is DBOYD. So that's DBOYD, DBOYD at VetStar.org. VETSTAR.org. So you can email him, you can call him, and
you can text me
you
too.
You can text. That's a cell phone number. You can send that text and just get going on finding solutions. Now, before I jotted down a couple of questions that I was thinking of, and do you have anything else, other programs you want to highlight before I get into questions? Because we might start chasing questions and not come back.
Oh man, we got
like 14 minutes.
I could talk veterans all day long. So,
okay.
But let's go ahead and jump into your questions.
Okay.
Yeah,
Here we go. You talked about a grant for homeless and a grant for financial assistance. So I know there's two questions that sometimes come up. I've in the past have had the opportunity to kind of help some homeless veterans get plugged into the right places, and also financial assistance. I know the veterans group here in Floyd County, they have helped veterans with just making that electric bill payment, paying the water bill, because they're just in a financial situation where they can't at the time. They've also built access ramps into houses, all kinds of stuff that they've done at the local level. And all that's just done, by the local veterans. So when it comes to, both of these programs, homeless program and the financial assistance, is there some kind of income-driven structure? Like, maybe I make too much money to tap into those programs.
It's a very good question. And I'm sorry I didn't even address that, because it does kind of boil down to money. So yes, there is, sort of, right? As far as the homeless one, so I know rules have changed with that now. They don't necessarily count your VA disability towards that threshold. And the idea behind these thresholds is we want to help all veterans, right? But if a veteran's making six figures, $100,000, and he wants help with a $200 bill, we're going to be like, okay, we got needier veterans out there, right? Right. But still give us a call. But yes, there is kind of we'll ask you, like when you call, hey, what's your approximate household income? We don't want to know, we don't want your bank. Well, some of them may ask for your bank statements just as kind of proof, but we don't need to know the exacts and stuff and different things like that. So there was kind of a income threshold. So yes.
Okay. And
that was a long way to get to a yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I seem to remember, because I've used some services from the TVC, particularly in the entrepreneur side and like some legal advising side. But I think I remember looking at the list of there. They also have groups that can assist with like financial budgeting type stuff. So if maybe you are that veteran that's making $100,000 a year and you don't understand why you don't have any money at the end of the month, hey, call VetStar. And maybe you don't fit their criteria, but like I said, they got that network. They can hand you over to the TVC. They got specialists. These are a lot of state volunteers that are in, different professions. They can sit down, look at your household budget, maybe try to help you figure out where those holes are that your money's falling through to help you. There was a similar program in California when me and my wife were there. It was a state-ran program, and it wasn't just for veterans. It was for anybody, but that's part of what we did. If you you're getting to the end of the month and you can't buy food for your kids, well, we'd come in, kind of look at everything, and help you figure out how to make that household income cover everything you need. And there might be things you got to cut out, like why do you need a six-pack of beer every day?
Could be.
Okay, there's sometimes we don't realize the money that we're wasting. So there's ways to help that. And then the other question, job status. So I'm looking for financial assistance, right? I can't make my rent payment. Is there any kind of job status attached to that? Employed, unemployed?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So that was the other question I thought of that might be on someone's mind. Hey, I got a job, but I can't pay my bills. Can I tap into this? So,
of course you can. Of course you can. Things happen, right? I got, and I could tell you, we could fill up another whole half hour probably with stories of veterans that we're helping, correct? No, there's just some guys that maybe they go into a surgery or something. We got a guy, in fact, who drives for City Bus in Lubbock. But he had to have a surgery, so he was out for 2 weeks, right?
Right.
And so his paycheck for that month was substantially lower. He gave us a call. We've already got him set up, and we should be getting him taken care of this week. So no, don't let that be a barrier. And to go back to your other question, don't let that scare you, right? If you're working or you make like $100,000 or $200,000 or something like that. The thing that I find with veterans, and I'm sure it's true of especially when you start getting to the more rural counties, is people are just either afraid to ask the question because they'll feel like it's a dumb question.
Oh yeah,
that is not the case here. Like I said earlier, man, I'm just a dorky country boy from the Northeast, man, but I take my job seriously. I'm going to find you the answers, and I appreciate you bringing that up. I'll find you the answers, right? I mean, I have them, but I'll point you to somebody.
Right.
Same with Charles. He's the MVPN Peer Service Coordinator in Floyd County. All I got to do is call Charles up and say, hey.
Oh, yeah.
If I had his number, actually, I would give that out. In fact,
I have a number on my phone, but it might be his personal cell. So
I'll tell you what, because I don't want to mess up and give out Charles's personal number either. Any people have a question for them, I will definitely hook them up with Charles.
Right.
And do Charles referral. We talk weekly.
Yeah.
And so there's plenty of stuff, man, we have out there. And there were a few other programs I wanted to touch base with really quick. There's a rural program that's unique to us, to Northwest Texas, right? It's called the Office of Dispute Resolution, okay? This could be for civil matters. This could be for criminal matters, right? And they have a veterans program. I meet every Wednesday with these people with the idea of if a veteran has some kind of legal issues, whether it's a ticket, whether it's something on their a legal side of things, right? They can fill out an application for this program. A lot of times what this Office of Dispute Resolution will do is that they will go to the county judges or district attorneys or whatever and say, hey, we got this veteran who's got, 10 outstanding tickets and he owes $5,000 in fines. Can we mediate with him, a neutral mediator, and get him involved and see if we can't figure out a program where he can do certain steps to and a lot of times they are on board for that. That is a very good program that is really taking off. It's been very successful in Lubbock, and they've asked me, I told them I was coming to see you. They said, hey, man, can you mention to us because we're trying to get onto rural. So if you have any legal stuff, again, call me. It's a judgment-free zone, man. I promise you that. What else I got?
I think Charles talked about that in the past where he had gone over to the county courthouse even here. Just, he wasn't really in the case, but he was just going with the veteran who was getting that legal service inside the courtroom there in that advocacy, and he was just going as moral support. Sometimes you don't want to go alone. So there's a lot of benefits there, and one thing that I like about that is your services are for all veterans.
All veterans.
And sometimes, people mess up, people make mistakes, people's life goes on a detour in the wrong direction. And a lot of times when veterans do that, society just kind of writes them off. And it's good that you guys are there helping those veterans that have taken some missteps. And sometimes it's struggle. You mentioned yourself with experiencing PTSD, and you have those struggles. And my oldest son, he's 90% disabled. He was medically retired from the Army, but the last year he was in, when he was kind of in this wounded warrior transition unit, they got no care there. Medication was terrible, everything, and he was in constant pain, constant stuff. So he went to self-medicating with alcohol, which then he had to deal with that later, trying to break that alcoholic addiction. But you get in those situations, and then maybe you had a little bit too much to drink and you're out driving and you get in an accident, or, hey, someone makes a bad comment at the bar you're at and you get into a fist fight.
Yeah.
We all make mistakes, and it's good that that happens. In Limestone County in San Diego, in Alabama, outside of Huntsville, they got a prison there. I taught classes there 2 days a week in the prison, but they have an honor dorm system. And so half the prison, it's all outside buildings, but half the prison they call the honor dorms, and one of them is for veterans. So if you ever served in the military and you meet the behavioral requirements in general population, so you're behaving, you're not getting in trouble and stuff, you can submit to be moved to the veteran dorm. But when you go to the veteran dorm, the expectations are higher on your conduct, and they almost run it kind of like you were in the military.
Yeah.
So it's good when there's programs like that, programs like you have that service that sometimes minimalized demographic of veterans because they've gotten in trouble.
Yeah, and I always tell my veterans, man, the only difference between me and you, especially my LCDC veterans, the only difference between you and me, man, is I never got caught.
Yep.
We all do make decisions that are maybe not the smartest things to do, and I'm glad you touched on the veterans that have mental health issues. That's what they do. A lot of times they'll self-medicate because they just don't know how to reach out, or they're afraid to reach out. They'll feel they'll be judged. I mean, we get that. There's a big stigma with mental health. That's mine and Charles and the MVPN specialty, right? In fact, we teach, we're certified through TVC to teach 2 different suicide prevention trainings, gatekeeper trainings. We got a whole course we can do on military cultural competency, which kind of, it compiles the stats of what the suicide rate is in veterans. Unfortunately, it's still going up. But it also talks about these different things, right? And we can teach this class for free, any of these for free to anybody. You want to know something about military culture? Hit us up. We'll come out there and spend an hour or 2 with you. But yes, there's organizations, man, that have pretty much got everything covered, right?
Yep.
And you mentioned advocacy, like what Charles did. That is our bread and butter as the MVPN, man. We love advocating, right? And I had to learn the hard way. I had to advocate for myself. So when I get veterans now that come in, because there's times you bump into a little roadblock, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But the beauty of trying to get these connections is, hey, I can call them and be like, hey, man, hey, Belinda, I got this veteran XYZ kind of, oh, yeah, I got you. You build these relationships, you build these connections, and you have a good work ethic and the military ethos that we all grew up with.
All right.
After a while, you build these relationships. They know that they can trust you, that you're doing the best for these veterans. This is why we're here. This is what all we love to do, and so I know we're getting short. But
we're down to about the last minute.
Okay, just please give me a call.
Yep, and I'm going to hit that number again real quick. 806-999-2835, and you can get a hold of Dennis that way. You can call or just text there, and then his email, dboyd at VetStar, that's VETSTAR.org. So you can shoot him an email as well. And I was going to say one more thing. Never assume the answer is no.
Never.
As soon as you assume the answer is no and don't ask the question, you've already set yourself up for failure. Always ask the question and let the people that work in that industry of helping veterans supply you the answer, because I can guarantee you it might be, Dennis might tell you, no, I can't help you with that. But these people can, and put you off in the right direction. I do a lot of referrals in ministry because I can do a lot of pastoral counseling. I've done suicide intervention trainings and all that kind of stuff. But there's a time when you need someone with more expertise. And I'm never ashamed to hand someone off and say, hey, it's not in my wheelhouse to do this, but it's in this person's wheelhouse. Call, text, email, and seek that help. Our time has expired. I thank you for being here, Dennis. I thank you, audience, for tuning in. And remember to catch us again on Cogitations next Sunday morning at 9 a.m. See you all later. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you for having me.
Tune in next Sunday at 9 for another edition of Cogitations with Carl Hartman, minister at Main Street Church of Christ in Lockney.